My name's Sharon Stewart and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Age UK Gateshead. We've been in Gateshead since 1972, so that means we've had over 40 years experience, and what we do, our reason for being here, is to offer services and offer support to older people in Gateshead. So our beneficiaries are people who are over 50, but primarily our services are aimed at people who are 65, 70 plus, because they're the people who need the support in the borough. Now we run a range of services, a range of support, and over the years these have changed depending on what local people have needed, what older people have needed. Right at the beginning we started off with day services, which were for frail older people, for them to come and get help and support, a meal, company, social interaction, and actually we still do day services to this day. So our day centres are one of our range of services which are aimed at tackling social isolation and helping older people feel involved and engaged in their community. Other ones of those services around social involvement and social engagement include our Good Companion service. And our Good Companion service is a service which helps older people gain social skills and again take part in their local community again by coming along to social groups which are in ordinary community venues. So the older people might decide they want to go to a pub or they want to go to a garden centre. Once a year they go on an annual trip to the coast somewhere and they're with their groups of friends and they meet and greet, have a pint if they want to, make new friends, gain their social confidence again, when very often they've become isolated, lonely, distressed, very often bereaved. Another one of our services linked to Good Companions is in fact our bereavement service, and our bereavement service is either one-to-one counselling, one-to-one support, again provided by volunteers, and a group which is called Forget-Me-Nots, and that's a group which meets within Gateshead Centre, and it's for people who prefer to gain their support in a group setting, so it's other people who've also lost their loved one fairly recently. And often people who use the Forget-Me-Nots and other bereavement support then go on to use other services that we provide, which tackle social isolation. Another one of our services, or another two of our services, are more around older people getting the advice and information they need in order to live a fulfilling life in the borough. So our information and advice service offers free advice, which is independent advice on a whole range of issues. So that might be, and very often it is, about maximising the older person's income. So making sure that they get all the benefits they're entitled to, any council tax rebates they might be entitled to, anything that's a financial input, so make sure they're getting all the pensions they're entitled to. And that means that in terms of health and well-being and social interaction, they're actually feeling a lot more healthy. They can afford to pay their bills, they can afford to buy the food they need, they can afford to socialise. So that's very important, one of our services. Another service which is linked to information advice is advocacy. And what we find is that as a vulnerable group of people in our society, older people who are on their own often aren't able to speak up for themselves and make sure they're getting what they're entitled to. So that might be a housing situation they've got, it might be health and social care provision, they might be being encouraged to go into a nursing home and they don't want to do that. It might be that they're in a bit of a debate with their carer, with their family about what they want. And what advocacy does is provide them a voice, so it helps them speak up and say, actually, out of my range of options, this is what I'd like to do. So we have advocates who work specifically around older people with mental health problems. We've also got a current project which is around people who are being diagnosed with cancer or their carers, in order to help them get the services they need. And we also do a general one for older people who generally have got issues that they feel they need to speak up about for themselves. Another one of our services is around making sure older people in Gateshead are kept physically well and emotionally well. And our Fit as a Fiddle project, we've been offering it for over 10 years now. And basically what it is it provides classes and activities in the local community which help older people retain or maintain their physical fitness. So it can be anything from yoga to guided walking. We have a chess club which is about emotional well-being and intellectual well-being, and that's mainly older men who come along to that. And the classes can include things like chair-based exercise. So the classes are aimed at people at different levels and they're provided around the borough. So there have been things like tea dances or Zumba classes, whatever people want to do really. And obviously they're aimed at maintaining people's physical fitness as much as we can. So that's helping them to stay stable, helping them to avoid falls, maintain bone health, maintain activity. But also, crucially, our physical activity groups are used by people who, again, want to make friends and have a social life. Very often there's a cup of tea and a chat before or afterwards. People come along because they meet their friends and they keep coming back. And it's one thing that we've been very successful with in terms of engaging older people. Again, people like to volunteer with the physical activities. We have volunteer walks leaders, we have volunteer class leaders. One lady who is 92 who leads a dance class, who's a volunteer. So again, it's an opportunity for volunteers to get involved with the work that we do that benefits older people. And the other part of the Fiddle Project is helping older people who are in local residential homes to use computers. And very often older residents in these homes feel very isolated. Often their families have moved away, and we have somebody who goes in and teaches them how to access a computer, how to use it. Sometimes they end up buying their own computer and contacting their relatives in Australia or in Chichester or in Scotland using Skype, and it reconnects them with their family and friends, and people find that it does help their emotional well-being enormously. We use volunteers in a number of ways in our organisation, and in short, in terms of the organisation, we have roughly on average 18 paid members of staff. Most of them are part-time. We have 150 volunteers who are volunteering their time to support our work. Without those 150 volunteers, we've worked out we could be paying out £100,000 in terms of salaries and wages to those people who are volunteering that time. So to us, there's a real benefit in terms of financial benefit, but also what we find is that the volunteers bring their own perspective. They're often more relaxed than somebody who might be in paid employment. They can come along, they want to give their time, they're very, very positive about what they do, and they instill in the people who use our services a bit of ambition and a bit of motivation. Basically, what they're bringing to our organisation is, if these people can do this volunteering, what can I do? And it often makes our older people feel much more connected, and somebody's actually giving their time to them on a voluntary basis. It's very, very much valued in a way that getting support from maybe a paid carer doesn't quite make you feel quite as engaged and valued as somebody who's actually volunteering to be with you and give their time. Another benefit that our volunteers bring to us is support within our office environment, because again, we really don't have the funds to fund lots of administration. As we're all aware, particularly in this current climate, the thing that we don't want to be spending a lot of money on is back office and administration. While all of us who work in the back office provide invaluable work, if we can get volunteers who'll come in and help us with answering the phones and help us with doing some of the day-to-day administration, it gives them work experience, and it absolutely benefits our organisation. We can get the telephones answered, we can get the administration done, and it means that every penny we get into the organisation is helping more older people than we otherwise might be able to reach. If anybody is interested in volunteering, or indeed using any of our services that I've mentioned, they're able to telephone us on the telephone number that's been given. People can pop in to our charity shop on Gateshead High Street and find out what we're offering, and also they can pop into our insurance sales office, which is also downstairs on the High Street, which is also staffed partly by volunteers, and the people in that office can give people information on what we do. The best way to contact us is probably to telephone us or to look at our website. Our website is kept updated on the services that we offer, and also any charging that we do for services. Some of our services we have to make a small charge for in order to recoup some of our expenses, including volunteer expenses. So things like the classes, you'll be able to find out what the small charges are to take part in some of our activities.